Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team. Welcome back. Tuesday, cup presentation day. The Panthers winning it all tonight for sure. Put the house on it. Don't literally. I give terrible gambling advice. This is why there is not a gambling corner to low quality Bruins fans channel. I've dabbled with that, but I'm a bad gambler, so I don't want to cost you money. Here's the thing. I wanted to look at free agency. And we're going to start with centers. Because what does this team need? This team needs centers, right? And the Boston Bruins have an issue. They have an issue where we're not so confident that there are two centers on the team that belong on the top line and on the second line, right? All respect to Coyle and Zacha and Geeky. They're fine. None of them are a true top six center, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinions. No big deal. So the Bruins have a problem. And they'd like to solve this problem this offseason. A lot of cash, right? Here's the thing. Like, comment, subscribe. Nailed it. No. It's not. When you are presented with a problem, you assume that there is a solution to the problem. Sometimes there isn't. There simply isn't. Or there isn't in the time frame you've been given. And that's kind of where we sit. Because not only do I not really believe that a 1C exists on the free agency market, but there are so few decent centers available. And I would argue maybe 24, 25 teams are looking for center help in the middle to top six range every year. The pickings are not only slim, but the competition is fierce. There's a ton of it. So we're going to go through what ended up being a list of sort of 9 centers. I wanted to do 10, but little exercise for you. Can you name right now out loud to yourself or whoever is around you, who is the 10th best who's the 5th best center available? Who's the 5th best center, not RFA, UFA, who the Bruins could simply walk in, put a contract on the table, they could sign it, walk out? Who's the 5th best? Because I bet whatever name you come up with, you're sitting there going, shit, that's not great. The 5th best center available, in my opinion, is a 3C at best on a championship team. That's the 5th best one available. The first, like I said before, I don't think that's even a 1C. So the problem in front of the Bruins isn't exactly solvable. And as much as they'll try to solve it through the aggregate, try to get as much play from the people that they have and the people they bring in that lifts the team enough that they're strong in every area other than down the middle. What a strategy. They say build from the net, but eventually you need a top-line guy. So we're going to talk about a couple names. First of all, we're going to do other videos coming up soon about other positions, but I would love in the comments for you to put your favorite trade ideas. RFAs or teams that are thinking about moving guys, whatever that may be. Any trade, put it below. Anything that you like the idea of. There's one stipulation with this. If you do this, and I pick your trade to talk about, you can't get mad at me. Because if you put together a trade where I think it's obscenely bad, or one that I just don't agree with at all, in value, you just can't get mad at me if I call it out. All right? That's the rule. You can put the trade down, but you have to have a good humor about it. There we go. Let's talk about the guys who don't make the list because they can't make the list. Reinhart. He is a winger. He's not a center. He exclusively plays wing at this point in his career. And as good as he has been, the Bruins can't really afford him. So he's not on this list because he's a winger. He's not a center. Nachas, also a winger, not a center, by the way. But he's an RFA, so it's a very different setup. He's not available in free agency. And he also seems very expensive to pry from Carolina. There's no one else really that I felt the need to list in here. The first two are going to be very simple. Let's go with number 9, Sean Monahan. 59 points in 83 games played, 29 years old. For the regular season. I'm just doing regular season here stuff. I hate him. I hate him. If you've heard me talk about him before, I loathe Sean Monahan. He's rebuilt his value. Good for him. Great for him. I'm happy for him as an individual. I hate watching Sean Monahan play hockey. He's an empty calorie guy. He is not a player who is part of a winning formula. He had a nice little run there with the Winnipeg Jets at the end of this season, put up some nice points, not in the playoff, but he's abysmal defensively, relies on the power play for a good portion of his points, and is a line nomad because he can't play in your top 6 because defensively he's so poor that you're giving everything back the other way. He can't play on your third line because, again, defensively he's so poor, and he does not drive a line. He's a complete passenger on his line, which results in anything below second line minutes having line mates that aren't able to create for him, and he disappears. Sean Monahan is so far down the list for me. I'm only mentioning him because people are going to bring him up. I'd put him like 30th. I hate watching the guy play hockey. Hate it so much. Hate it so much. He's a poster child for the kind of player you can't put on a winning team. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. And you can point to whatever winning he's done, but I don't believe you can win a cup with Sean Monahan playing real minutes for your team. I genuinely don't. I hate watching him play. Have I said that enough? I feel like I've said that enough. He has rebuilt his value. He's really good from the dot. There are definitely moments where you would love to have him. Not through a whole season. God, no. God, no. At number 8, Max Domi. It's a better version of Sean Monahan. Get the frick out of here. Get out of here. That's everything I just said about Sean. That's for Max, too. Number 7 is actually one of my personal favorites. Alexander Wenberg, a guy I affectionately refer to as Wienerberg. Love him. Love his game. Think he's awesome. He is a defensive stud. A specialist, if you will. Why would we spend money on him? That's the question for a lot of these guys coming up on this list. The dude's ridiculous defensively. He's the kind of guy you can put up against any other team, including Edmonton's top line, and still feel decent that you're going to get out of that shift without allowing a goal. You can feel good with Wenberg on the ice about keeping the puck out of your own net. The thing is, he's a complete black hole offensively. He's just not good. He's like Beecher. You get across that red line and boof, it ain't happening. We have 4 3Cs on our team, I'd like to think. Coyle, Zaka, Geeky. I think Boquist could play there a little bit. Frederick could play there a little bit. We just have a lot of guys who could play 3C. The Boston Bruins simply aren't in the market for marginal upgrades further down the lineup. Now, look, they want to upgrade in areas like that, but we aren't looking before we check off some other boxes. There are other boxes that sorely need attention before we're looking at improving at 3C. I like Wenberg. I like him a lot. He's not a top 6 guy, so you'd be putting him at 3C. That just jumbles around Geeky and Frederick and Coyle. And like, how does that actually improve the team, spending $4 million on him? It doesn't really make sense. I like the player a lot. And if there's a way to get him to play for the Bruins where you can still do the other stuff, awesome. But I don't see how the Bruins make that work. I don't. At number 6, a name that gets brought up a lot, and I'm going to admit this. Chandler Stevenson. I liked 51 points in 75 games played. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, hey, what about Stevenson? I probably responded, I like him. I want to look a little deeper into him, but like I like the player. I have done a complete 180. Chandler Stevenson is 30 years old. There's no real option for us that's like 26 or under for a top 6 center. Like, it's not happening. Look, the season he just had was an outlier. It was. Over the past 5 years, in previous years at least, he had been a responsible 200-foot, speedy, could enter the zone well, could make plays. That first assist was oftentimes his. He has been a really strong middle 6 center for years on a loaded Vegas team. This past year, virtually everyone who played with him had worse numbers while on the ice with him, analytically. His expected goals percentage was in the mid-40s. He dragged Mark Stone down to the low 50s in that number. Mark Stone was noticeably worse when he was on the ice with him. He has been an active detriment to any line this past year with the Vegas Golden Knights. A large portion of that, Dom Lucian, I was actually reading up on some of his stuff. He pointed out that there's a lot less speed for Stevenson. And I think that's a great point. Because when players lose their fastball, their speed, they need to change their game. They need to improve in other areas to stay worthy of whatever role they are playing. Stevenson hasn't done that. And he's gone from a player who would actively push his line, maybe not drive his line, but push his line in the right direction, to a player who has the opposite effect, who has been dragging his teammates down, who is no longer able to get up the ice as quickly. He's still fast, don't get me wrong, but he's not improving in the zone entries like he was before. He's not making his team better at getting set up. He's lacking that offensive push that he used to have. Defensively, he's dropped pretty severely. There is not a lot of positive to his game right now. And look, maybe this past season was a blip. But at 30 years old, with a physical attribute that appears to be getting worse, that was a primary part of their game, you would be really concerned about giving this guy a real contract. 4 to 5 million with multiple years attached. I know the Bruins have to bite the bullet somewhere. They have to go with a guy. They have to pick someone and go with them. I don't think Stevenson's the answer. As much as some of those numbers look good. Also, look at what Stevenson did this past year on a very good, very, very good Vegas team. Solid enough season points-wise. But look at what Zakon Coyle did on a Bruins team that, I mean, they didn't always get to sit next to Pasternak. How is Stevenson that much of an improvement, if any at all, over Coyle and Zacha? I don't think he is. So at that point, you're bringing in another guy who is probably at this point in his career a good 3C on a cup team. Once again, that's what we're going to keep coming back to. I don't think Stevenson's a real answer here, unfortunately, because a lot of people seem to really like him, and a couple weeks ago I did too. But the more I read, the more I looked into it, I think there's a huge risk for anybody who doles out a good contract to Stevenson. And number 5, this one's biased. It's probably wrong. It's not fair at all. I'm doing it anyway. Jack Roslovic. 31 points in 59 games played. 59 games played. 27 years old. It's a biased pick. It's a biased pick. There's really no evidence for me to point to that makes this a sure thing. I've watched Roslovic for years. Mostly in Columbus, of course, but he did spend some time on New York this year. Right now, his results aren't great. He's not a great finisher. Couldn't find a lot of special teams time in Columbus, which is damning for sure. Doesn't do well at the dot and is bad defensively. There's not a lot of positivity that's coming out of my mouth right now. Bunch of red flags. But when I watch him, I see a versatile player who is gonna bring you results on the ice. I genuinely believe that. I think he could benefit from a bit more structure. I think his defensive game, even though he's 27, has room to grow. I think he's better defensively than the results he's gotten for a good portion. I think a lot of that comes from the stink of Columbus. I genuinely like his game. I think he sees the ice well. I think he can drive a line, not to a severe level, but I think he can be a really, really strong player. Probably a middle-of-the-range 2C. Does that really improve the Boston Bruins that much? Probably not. But if I was going to take a swing on a 2-year deal or 1-year deal with a lower AAV, then I'm really interested in Roslovic. I think he has a lot to his game that I really enjoy. If he wants to take a bet on yourself contract, I'd like to bring him in. Again, you're probably adding another good 3C to your team, which is not the goal. But I can't not mention him on this list because I just like the intangibles of his game. Biased. Sometimes you just hold on to a name too long. But I haven't sold my stock on Roslovic. Can't do it. Just can't do it yet. That was number 5, by the way. Are you seeing the theme? It's not a lot to work with around here. At number 4, Adam Henrique, 51 points in 82 games played, 34 years old, looking for his last contract. My guess would be in the $4 to $5 million range. He's a plus player on both sides of the ice. Not by much, but it's still a positive impact. The question is going to come back, though. Does he improve this team? Does Adam Henrique improve this team as a playoff caliber team? Does he? Zacha, Coyle, Geeky, Patra. Didn't even mention Patra, yeah. Who does he push out of the lineup? Now look, he improves his team at the faceoff dot. Absolutely. Dude's been solid there. But who does he push out of their position? Patra? I mean, again, you're looking at it going, okay, this is the most reliable guy I can... Like, I know what I'm getting from Henrique. And he's a really strong 3C. And he can play 2C minutes in a pinch. But if you're looking to fix real issues, jumping onto a 3-year contract for $4 million with Adam Henrique, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't help anywhere. And you're just adding another guy. A guy that you like, but it's not going to fix anything. We're going to move on to number 3. Matt Duchene. You notice that some of these guys I talk more about because there's more to their game that I think actually benefits the Bruins, or there's so many red flags that I want to point all of them out. Adam Henrique, you kind of know what you're getting, and he's just not pushing anyone out of the lineup. At number 3, you've got Matt Duchene, 65 points in 80 games played. He's just positive impact guy. Duchene would be a great addition. He isn't a 1C anymore, if he ever truly was. But at 33 years old, he's still a very dependable 2C who, as long as he's got his speed, which seems to be maintaining, can enter the offensive zone with the puck on his stick reliably and create chances for himself and others around him. If you could keep DeBrusk, oh my goodness. The two of them, what they could unleash on a defensive pair with their speed and their movement, I mean, that's a good little tandem right there. That's wishful thinking, but he would genuinely make this team better, especially offensively. He's not great defensively. He's a struggle bus driver defensively. But there are enough reliable 200-foot wingers on this squad that I'm not overly concerned with it. He doesn't solve your need for 1C, but he really does improve your middle 6 if he comes in. The problem with this, unfortunately, is that Duchene is really focused on going to the right situation, it would seem. There's a risk right now that joining Boston, you don't know where the trajectory for this team is. And players know that. Players aren't completely deaf to that. They're still trying to figure out, well, is Boston, like, are the young guys going to be good enough where they're staying in the mix, or are they starting to tail off? And right now, it seems like the general theme is people think the Bruins are going to tail off. I know, bizarre after the season we just had, but it is what it is. I think with Duchene still collecting money from the buyout from Nashville, his focus is going to be a championship caliber team. And there's a lot of teams that look sexier than us on paper that he would prefer to take a lower contract with just to play with them. I don't think the Bruins are on his list. So when Duchene signs for a team-friendly number somewhere else, don't get mad at Sweeney, because I don't think Sweeney even has a foot in the door on that one. I would like to see him, though. At number 2, I mean, you could probably guess who the last 2 are. But we're going to go with Steven Stamkos. 81 points in 79 games played, 34 years old. Still a stud offensively. No clue what he wants for money or how many years. I think he's going to be a Bolt for life. But my guess is somewhere around the 7 to 8 million for 4 years. Because the point totals are still there. No thanks. No thanks. 6x4? I mean, I'm interested, but still, yeef. The issue here is he's long past his prime. Still excels offensively, but almost half his points are on the power play. On a power play where he didn't have to drive it. He could sit and wait for his chances. The thing with the Tampa Bay Lightning is they still have a bunch of high-end talent. I mean, with Point and Kucherov and Sergachev and Hedman. And there are guys that he doesn't have to be the guy. Hagel. On the Bruins, he would have to be more of the guy. We've got Pastrnak. We've got an aging Marchand. That's kind of... I mentioned Hedman, though, so I should mention McAvoy. I mean, come on. He's going to have to drive a line more than he's had to the last couple of years. Defensively, his game has been dropping year to year. He's been outchanced and outscored. His lines have been outchanced and outscored consistently over the last year. In fact, if you spend some time on Natural Stat Trick, you'll see that almost every player Stamkos spends time on the ice with this season has worse results when Stamkos is on the ice with. That's pretty negative for number 2, by the way. I would like Stamkos on the Bruins. Don't get me wrong. We have defensive players who can shelter him. That being said, he doesn't fix your 1C problem at all. He's not a 1C anymore. But the point totals, the fluidity he would share with Pastrnak, he'd be fun to watch as a Bruin. I think he's a Bolt for life. That leaves us with one option left. This video is literally just a, hey, temper your expectations video. Or start focusing on trades more than on free agency, because the free agency just isn't there. Elias Lindholm is the best center available. He genuinely is. He has 44 points in 75 games played, 10 in 13 playoff games this year. The big ticket guy who, over the past few months, has been touched around so much that I'm pretty sure Bruins fans are already sick of him. He does genuinely improve this team. He does. All the negatives aside, he does make this team better. He's excellent in the dot, over a 55% win rate this season. He has been known in previous years as a defensively sound guy who can also get to the puck to the net. The last 2 years is the problem, because he hasn't really been that. Since the departure of Tkachuk and Gaudreau, Lindholm's game has been launched off a cliff. The analytics and numbers tell the story of a guy who can't drive a line, and if he's asked to, it's a negative impact line. When he's on a line, they create less opportunity, and they allow more chances against. You saw that in Vancouver. You saw that in Calgary this year. He doesn't have the same level that he previously had. And yeah, it's because Tkachuk and Gaudreau were his line mates. It's pretty obvious. Those are 2 guys who can drive a line. Lindholm can't. Would Pastrnak benefit from Lindholm on his line rather than Coyle or Zacha? Absolutely. Decent on the power play, wins a lot of faceoffs, has a history of being able to create primary assists. But this one comes down to the steep decline in play over the years and the price to go along with it. If it was a $6 million for 5 years contract, I'd do it. Because even if you solve your 1C problem, you're spending $6 million on your 2C? Fine, absolutely. I think he is a good 2C. I've been so critical of him that I feel like people believe that I don't think he's worth being on the Bruins. It's not true. Everybody has their rate, right? Everyone has a cost where they're beneficial, unless they literally can't be. Lindholm cannot be paid like a 1C, and he wants to be paid like a 1C. And if you pay him like a 1C, well, you're really leaving a lot of money on the table, because he's not going to get you the results that you're going to be paying him for. He's not a first-line center. I think he's a good second-line center, though. This team improves with him on it. This video is telling us one thing. All this research, everything that went along with it, the 1C isn't available for us outside of trading for one, which doesn't seem super possible either. But as far as free agents go, that's it. That's it. Remember to put your favorite trades in the comments below, if you will. I'd appreciate it. Let me know if you think I missed anybody who could truly change the landscape of this team. But hate to be negative, I don't think that problem gets solved this year. I don't. Unless Patra takes a huge leap. Huge leap. That's all right. The Bruins are retooling. And sometimes it's not as easy as others. Love this team, though. Really excited about what we get going forward. I really hope the Oilers win the game tonight, because I believe Game 6 would be Thursday, which means we would stream during it again. So fun. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Panthers are going to win it all. Gross, right? Good for them. There's a little piece here that goes, you know what? They've taken so much abuse through the years, especially because they didn't support their own team for a little while there, that it's kind of nice to see them say F you to the rest of the league. Good for them, man. That's a fun little brother moment that becomes bigger and stronger. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Go Bees. Go Bees! And of course, we have to say a big old thank you to the high quality inspectors who happen to all be 10 out of 10s. Not sure if you guys knew that. We've got our top line tier inspectors: GD Viperworks, Tiffany Hagel, Chris and Erica, Len Cruz, Moonlighter TV, The Bugman, Brock Nope, Han Slomo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Aaron Adams, Just Aaron, Darren Woodbury, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Absolute studs. 10 out of 10. I'm not kidding. Every single one of them. And, of course, there's the highest of high quality inspectors, the all-star tier. 12 out of 10s. Can you believe it? So hot. We've got the Mad Marcus, Adrian Winter, Tyler McCourt, Tupton D. Tashi, John Kirk, Jacob Pratt, Heil E. Coyote, Michael DePaulo, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adam Ella, Bruins Smash, Joel, Abraxion, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Doots42, and Jeremy. You guys are stallions. You're all legends, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you and your help with keeping this channel going. Thank you, and go Bees.